All right, mathematicians, it is time for math lesson number 3. Still working on those fractions and decimals. Okay, we see all of that? Yes, we can. All right, so we're going back to a picture here. So remember when we covered the 100 square, this guy with 10 sticks, when we covered it with just one 10 stick, that was 1/10. Because it takes 10 of those sticks to cover up the 100 square. So if we start with a cake that's cut into 10 sticks and we're icing a whole stick at a time, so if we've iced 2 whole sticks altogether, the fraction, now we're counting in tenths, right? Even though it looks like the hundreds cake, it's still 10 pieces. So our fraction is going to have 10 as the denominator, and there are 2 of those that are totally iced in blue. So our fraction is going to be 2/10. So if you remember to turn that into a decimal, we're going to make sure we put it into the tenths column. Da-da-da-da. Okay, tenths column, one spot to the right of the decimal place. So the decimal is going to be 0.2. All right, now here's this word, equivalent. Oh my goodness. Now we did have this as a word in the glossary. So in the back of your math notebook, you should have the word equivalent written in there and the definition, but just in case you've forgotten, equivalent means the same amount or the equal amount, right? Because it has that part, just like in the word equal. So we can get an equivalent fraction by cutting up what we've got into smaller pieces, right? So we're not going to change how much cake is iced. We're just going to cut it up differently. So if we add a few more lines in our cake, and again, just imagine that this is all professionally done and actually each spot is equal. Okay, so now all of a sudden we've got 100 pieces. So for our equivalent fraction, we're going to have 100 as the denominator. And instead of 2, now we can count by tens, 10, 20. So my equivalent fraction is going to be 20 100ths. Okay, now if I want to put 20 100ths as a decimal, that's what this equivalent decimal is all about. We still have 0 full cakes, and then we're going to put the 20 to the right of the decimal. You'll notice that the 2 is still in the tenths column because we haven't changed how much cake we've got. It's still 2/10 worth of cake. Okay, now try one more example here. Okay, so for this one, what fraction of the cake is iced in blue? Hopefully you all just said 6/10, right? 6 of the strips are iced and there's 10 total strips. So the decimal equivalent, we got to put the 6 in the tenths column, which is right to the right of that decimal point. Okay, now to get the equivalent ones, we have to cut up our cake into more pieces. Again, look at this professional slicing. Oh yes, use your imagination. These pieces are definitely the same. Okay, so our equivalent fraction, now we have 100 pieces. And count by tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 of them are iced in blue. Time for the equivalent decimal. We are going to put the 60 to the right. Oh, the 6 is still in the tenths position because 6/10 of the cake are still covered up. We've got an extra 0 here to show that we've cut it into 100 pieces. Okay, so that's everything that you need to know for Blue Folks, page 267 and green folks page 222. Don't worry, I'll give you those numbers again closer to the end. Okay. So we now should have all the information that we need to convert back and forth in between decimals and fractions and back to decimals again. So if I give you a decimal, you can use a place value to figure out the fraction. So for a 0.2, the 2, one spot to the right, it's in the tenths position. So I know that the bottom of the fraction, the denominator, is going to be 10, and the top of the fraction is going to be 2. If I have 0.04 as my decimal, I can look up here, okay, tenths, 100ths. So now the 4 is in the 100ths spot. So I know the bottom of my fraction is going to be 100, and the top of my fraction is going to be 4. You could put 0.4 if you really wanted to, but we know that in a normal number, having zeros to the left really doesn't make any difference, so that can just go away. All right, what if we had this fraction? Instead of just 400ths, now we've got 34 hundredths, right? So the 3 is in the tenths place, and the 4 is in the hundredths place. How do we know which one we're going to use as the denominator? Well, it's easy. We look for the farthest right number that is not 0. So the farthest right number that's not 0 is this 4, and it happens to be in the 100th spot. So we know the denominator is going to be 100. Okay, what's the top going to be? Oh, there are 34 of those hundredths, or 3/10 and 4 hundredths. Now, we could also go back the other way. I'm going to get rid of this last example. So what if I gave you the fraction 8 hundredths? Don't fall into the trap, okay? You're thinking, oh, well, there's only one number on top, so it must be this. It is not, right? Because 0.8 is the same thing as 8/10. Well, that's a whole different amount of cake than 8/100ths of cake. So again, this one has to go into the 100th spot. And we're going to use our good friend Zero the Hero to put it into the right spot. So they're going to try and trick you. So be on your guard. Make sure that they don't get you, and use Zero the Hero to your best advantage. All right. So for today's work, if you have a blue math book, we would like you to do page 267 and page 269. Notice those are not right next to each other. So you're going to have to do our jump math fun and jump around. So don't do page 268. Green math book folks, you're going to do page 225 and page 227. So again, check your colors, make sure you're doing the right pages for your color book. Okay, good luck. And again, if you have any questions, send me an email. Good luck.